So, Petra, let's start off right away. I talked about this in the introduction, and I really want to get a sense. This is a real bit of hidden history for many people over here in North America. I had no idea that neutral, seemingly so progressive Switzerland didn't allow women to vote till 1971. But it's a bit of a hidden history in Switzerland, too, isn't it?
Well, it's not, it's kind of hidden in plain sight because everybody knows about it. It's not that, you can't talk about it, but it wasn't taught in school. It's not something, I think when women actually got the right to vote, a lot of people, like especially the politicians, were quite ashamed. And the women just felt like we need to move on now. Finally, we can vote and start to change some laws. So it was kind of like, swept under the carpet and everybody moved on. And nobody, so you knew about it, but you didn't feel anything about it. And I thought that's important to feel something about the history, what it actually means for our country, for the women in our country, what story it tells about our society and culture, and how that is still, present in the present.
So,
Yeah.
obviously, a hugely important story for women, for the country, for the culture. How did you decide that you wanted to tell it in the way you did? Because you have slices and characters from many different elements of society, and the men are a part of the story too in many ways. Why did you decide to construct the story that way?
Um, Well, I always approach a story with characters. So first I researched a lot. I talked to a lot of women who one of them, she spent her whole life and dedicated her whole life for the suffragette fight. And I talked to these women. I read a lot of books. I went to archives just to understand the time and the context. And I didn't have like a clear, like in the beginning I was very open. I looked at it from all sides, and then little by little in the research I started to find all these characters, and I really wanted to show how being oppressed also by the law, which was against the women, the marital law, how it affected women of all generations in this society. So I wanted to have women of all ages. And actually, Nora was inspired by a small note I found in an archive written by a housewife and mother who said she's never been political before, but because women were against the right to vote and always collected money for their propaganda, she replied to them and said, "I've never been political in my whole life, but now this makes me so angry. I want to fight. I want to become a fighter for this," and that touched me very much. This little note that kind of ended up on my desk, and I thought I want to bring her voice to the big screen, just a normal woman's voice who becomes a heroine and a leader of this flock of housewives who set the fire.
You did an amazing job, and part of that was Marie. Of course, you did an incredible job. How did you come? Yes, you can applaud. How did you come to be a part of this film, and what did it mean to you to play this role?
I came normally like with a casting, so but it was not so normal because it was already casted, and the women got pregnant, and so I came in this situation, and then when I got the role, I prepared quite well because in 1971 I wasn't born yet, and I saw a lot of documentaries and tried to find out how people talked, how people moved, and it really seemed as if it was not like today. They gesticulate less than today, I think, and then I read a book written by Susan Batson. It's an American actor coach. And there was one exercise where you look for an animal who is connected with your character, and to find out how your character moves. If you're a lion or a snake or something, you just try to imitate this animal to find this for your part. And I was thinking about what animal Nora is, my Nora, and I didn't find any animal. And there was nothing who was, I thought, that's her. And in one moment I realized that Nora isn't an animal, Nora is a plant. In the beginning there is only
What plant is she?
there is only a seed in the beginning, and then it starts growing towards the sun, and it's a tiny, fragile flower, but it's a strong one that breaks through the asphalt, and it keeps growing. Yeah, sounds funny. Yeah, and that was my Nora.
Now, this, of course, is Switzerland's entry for the Oscar Best Foreign Film. What does that mean to you as the producer of this film?
Well, first and foremost, it's a big honor, to come here and represent our country with that film, and it's
our revenge.
and it's also a little bit our revenge. For us being so late with this and kind of carrying that message into the world. But we are enjoying it as it lasts.
Well, I was going to ask that. I mean, are there people in Switzerland? Often when I talk to people when we do this series, there is the perspective of the filmmakers within the country, but aware that there's a larger world looking in. And some filmmakers have said in this series and in other ones, they have people have we love your film, it's great. We really wish the rest of the world didn't know we did stuff like this. And I wondered, seeing this film, I think is that a reaction? Because it does seem to me Switzerland, which, for what everyone thinks of banking laws and what have you, presents itself as this wonderful neutral country. It's clean, it's crisp, everything works very well. It seems, unless you're a woman in 1970. So I wondered, what was the perception in Switzerland about this film? And what is the perception now that it's on the world stage?
Well, the perception in Switzerland was extremely enthusiastic because there were so many women who were so grateful that finally their story is told. And they schlepped all their husbands to the movies also. And that was very good because I think the movie also moved a lot of men because it doesn't villainize men. It shows how a patriarchy, and it's a systemic oppression, and patriarchy oppresses also men and puts them in a prison of role who they have to be as men, and the brother and the husband also get crushed by that. And I think that their story is kind of also acknowledged, and it is a very big thing in Switzerland. In this area where we shot the movie, there's like an epidemic of suicide amongst men. They don't know because there's so much social pressure. And I think a lot of men, feeling recognized somehow also opened their hearts towards the pain of the women. So it was in general very, very well received. It was a big box office hit, and it's still in the cinema now.